On this video, I'm going to show you the consequences when the emotions supersedes the logic. Have you ever sat down with your mom and your parents and you tell them, hey, when I grow up, I'm going to build you a house, I'm going to make you amazing, and you're going to live comfortable? That's everyone's dream. Let's say maybe you came up from a not a so good family or something of sort. It's everyone's dreams. It's an amazing thing to do. I love it personally, and I know you would love also your parents to live good. But guess what? There are two things that you're supposed to understand in life. There's something called being logical and being emotional. And when you let emotions drive you or take larger percentage of your decisions as far as the finance is concerned, you can get yourself in a quite dicey state. And today I'm going to share with you a story of a lady who called me. By the way, with her consent, she told me to make this video. Perhaps it can save a soul out there. With her consent, and she's facing quite a tough situation. Guess what happened? She took a loan of 1.5 million over her salary. You see, there are these people who usually take a loan to buy a piece of an asset, and they repay that specific loan using the salary, meaning that whatever they have bought, it's not generating nothing. So she took a loan of 1.5 million because she loves her mother, and we do, and I know you do, because they're amazing people, to build her a home or a house, because she told her that one day when I be in a situation where I can, then I will. Now, the problem is this. She did punch above her weight. Number one, she took a loan to build a house. Let's draw the line from that point. She took a what? A loan to build a house. There's no problem with that. Some of you, I know they may say that. But there is a very big problem. What's the problem here? Because whoever told you that building your home, that's an investment, it is not. You know why it's not an investment? It's actually doesn't generate anything. It's like a dead capital. Nothing is being generated out of that. And one rules of the loan says this: whenever you take it and channel it somewhere, that whatever place that you're channeling it, it has to generate something at the end of the day to be able to repay that loan. Guess what happens? She doesn't earn a lot of money. Guess how much she earns? 55,000, and when you do the deductions and what have you, around 48, 49, around that amount of money. Let's give it at 48,000, all right? And then she took a loan against that salary, and she was getting a huge cut, close to 25,000 a month. Basically, like half of that money was going towards repayment of that loan. Okay, now this is the situation, and I'm going to share you a true story, the kind of videos, or rather the kind of calls that I usually receive. She went back to the Ushago, built a mom's house, and mom was happy, everyone was good, there was goat eating and what have you, and all those kind of things. And then the reality starts to kick in. Number one, there are some factors that you have held constant here. You've assumed that for the next 4 years that you're going to service this loan, you're going to be employed, you ain't going to be sick, you're going to be getting salary at the end of the month, and it's like you're consuming the future you. Now, guess what happens? The building was okay and everything was done, and she continued to repay the loan. Now, it reached to a point whereby she got fired. Yes, it's a reality of life. She got fired. She doesn't have an asset. They cannot be able to sell that home from where the mom resides. Okay, now she gets fired, and she has not cleared the entire loan. Guess how much is remaining? 850,000. That's the amount of money that is actually remaining for her to clear this loan, and she doesn't have a constant source of income. And guess what? She wouldn't even have invested her money, because a huge chunk of it was actually going towards that repayment of that given loan. She has 2 kids, and she happens to be a single mother. Now, tell me exactly how this lady gonna survive. She has an outstanding loan over 800 and something thousand. She doesn't have a loan. I mean, she doesn't have a payment at the end of the month that can be able to sustain this given loan, and she has a family. Now, at that particular point, tell me what you're gonna do. She called me and she asked me, Joseph, what do you advise me to do? And I've asked them, okay, have you tried to apply for new jobs and what have you? Yes, I am. But what I'm getting, well, it's not quite sustainable, because remember, I'm supposed to pay 25,000 at the end of the month. And you know what? I've defaulted for like 3 or 4 months. And the situation I am right now, the amount of money I'm getting is not even close to 30,000. What exactly am I going to do? And this is why I always tell people, you see, when you get that chance of actually getting a salary at the end of the month, it's always good to make sure that you at least focus on growing yourself, focus on investing on something. What if she decided to do this? And this is just a question, a hypothetical question. What if that amount of money, 25 Gs, she decided to invest? You see, sometimes it's good to sit your mom down or your parents down before you actually build them a house. Because let me tell you one secret. There is nothing wrong with you helping them and building them a home. But the question is this, the timing is where the problem is. It's okay if she could have taken a little bit of time, she could have built her mom's house. And how do you do that? Usually build so with a passive income. You see, if maybe she could have channeled that money, maybe let's say to a circle, whereby she does the contribution for that period of time that she has been trying to repay that loan. And maybe perhaps today, after getting fired, she could have at least have a substantive amount of money whereby she can use to start maybe let's say a conventional business, get the passive income from that specific conventional business. Now you can focus on building your mom's house. The timing was the problem. Immediately after getting the job, you think of getting a loan, 1.5 million, not growing yourself. First of all, you people, and let me tell you one secret. There's somebody who said like, these people who come from a poor background, in most cases, it becomes very hard and technical for them to actually get out of that because they tend to do kind of the same thing. They do not have what we call the financial advisory. They do not have what we call the financial literacy that can actually use them to actually snatch themselves out of that given problem. So my question is this. I see it from a point of if maybe she could have made a decision of channeling this money into a certain investment, perhaps maybe let's say into a circle, into a a money market fund, into a conventional business. She could have at least created another source of income. So by the time if this thing or an expectation happens like that happened of being fired, then she could be having what we call a soft landing. Then she can rely on that soft landing, which in our case is an investment or a business, to be able to sustain her life. Right now, as we speak, both of them are looking at each other. They are in that house that they build using that loan. And guess what? If it continues like this and they're not in a position to actually pay this loan, probably you can think of the worst decision that the bank they can actually make. It's maybe come and take the title deed of that piece of land. And therefore, they stand on a high chances of actually going back to poverty, actually in a more extreme way than they were before. So those are the factors that you're supposed to consider. Sometimes don't let yourself be driven more of emotional, but being logical. Is good to love, is good to support, is good to help, is good to build. But at the same time, ask yourself, fine, that's amazing. Now, is it the right time to do it? Fine. Do I have the financial muscle to do exactly that? What if, by the way, would you imagine if I tell you this lady is not even that old, and therefore it means by default the mother is not that old as well because she's the firstborn, and therefore it means that if they could have sat down with the two of them and say, hey, you know what, I just got employed, and you know that, Pam, right? And you see, I got two kids here, right? Now the question is this: how about, you see, I can be able to access these 1.5 million Kenyan shillings. Now, I know we have the possibility or we would like to have a home because we obviously do not, but at least we have a place where we can call a home. At least we have a roof on top of our head. And for God's sake, we have a piece of land as we speak. This is what the dad left us with, okay? Now, the point is this. What do you think? Maybe we can start like a business somewhere. We can invest our money somewhere. And then from there, we can monitor the business as it progresses. And then focus on building the house using the passive income from that given amount of money. All right? Or maybe we can say with this 1.5, instead of us building this, if we reside from an area whereby we can be able to build 2, 3, 4, 5, single bedrooms or single rooms, we can be able to do so and rent it at 2,000. We have like 20 or 25 or 30,000. Then from there, I'm able to, at the end of the day, not to be cut from what I earn from my salary. And then this amount of money can be able to repay the bank loan and also sustain you as we are looking forward into having. You see, you have to have that thing. You sit them down and have the conversation, ask them, hey, you know what, us building a home, it's an amazing idea, but at the end of the day, financially, it's not a good idea because this is a debt capital. This home will be requiring what we call the renovations. This home will require what we call the upkeep and what have you. It will not be generating you anything. At the end of the day, you'll be asking me for the food, me supporting you in normal things, the clothing, the whatever, is still going to continue. So we would like to look for a place. You see, there are two things that I always tell people. You're supposed to understand the difference between growing money and storing money. At this particular point, it's like storing money. It doesn't generate income. You're supposed to understand. It is good to have an asset, and it's also good to have what we call the cash flow. Because cash flow is what helps you to actually sustain the day-to-day activities. And I always give a very simple example. You cannot be able to go shopping, or you cannot be able to shop with a title deed. You can't be able to present the title deed on the cash with the cash to the cashier and tell them, hey, let that do the shopping. No, you cannot do that. So you need cash flow. So you cannot be able to constrict the cash flow to a point whereby you cannot even be able to sustain your life. So it's always good to mix up all those two things at the same time, so that at least you can be able to have a decent life, because a decent life is quite an amazing thing. And the other thing, you at least have an asset somewhere. By the way, if you ask me, I could have said, hey, why don't they go somewhere, grab a piece of land maybe, where it's not like quite expensive, and then they think of value adding that piece of land. For example, let's take a very simple example. If they went somewhere and take a piece of land where it's not quite developed, when I say not developed, I mean like it's not like the interior of the interior. No, I've been in a quite a substantive place. You buy that piece of land, you value add. How do you value add? Maybe you can do the fencing. All right. And then after that, then you can be able to subdivide that piece of land or that piece of property. You sell them in terms of the, plots of land. And then from there, you liquidate it. Because if anything happens, if you are unable to repay this loan, then it means the bank can actually retain the title deed of that piece of property that you've bought. So you're not putting your home at a risk. And this piece of property, you subdivide it, you resell it. And after selling that piece of property, therefore, whatever you make out of that, first of all, you actually manage to repay the back of your loan. All right. So number one, you actually increased your credit score, meaning you can get even a bigger loan than that. You've actually identified another side hustle that you can be generating some income. And on top of that, you have some little bit of cash on top of you. From there, maybe you can start building, or you can think of grabbing another piece of property. And that's how you grow yourself. That's how you progress. I know you may argue from the point of, hey, it takes time to liquidate property. Of course, I did not say it doesn't take time. I did not say it is easy. It is not. If it is easy, a lot of people would be successful. It is not. Everything requires dedication, time, and sacrifice. That's a reality. I did not say you can liquidate it within a click of a button. It takes time. You need to take sacrifice. All right. But if you dedicate yourself into selling a property, definitely you'll get a buyer. That's how it goes. And you are sure that, hey, if this goes south, the bank can actually go ahead and retain that piece of property as a collateral instead of you putting a risk. Because as we speak right now, the property where the mom's house resides, it's at risk. It's at risk of being auctioned. And that's the reality. And that's the problem that Kenyans are facing. You're so much controlled by the emotions. You would like to build your parents' house, but you do not have the capacity. You are barely standing even yourself. You do not even have what we call the financial muscle. You're barely standing, but you still want to lift somebody from up there. Let me tell you one thing. It takes sacrifice from both parties. Them taking sacrifice, not thinking that you have a lot of money, and you believing that you're not yet standing. And then from there, let at least one person stand and be strong. Therefore, they can lift us. But if they are barely standing and we are pulling them down, we never got ourselves out of that murky waters. Because if you ask me as we speak right now, they are basically like in the situation that they were before. And right now is quite worse because they actually have a loan to repay and they do not know how they're going to do exactly that. So what my parting shot? Be careful. Let all the time not the emotion to supersede the logic. Because if the emotion supersedes the logic, you're going to suffer a lot. For now, it's a goodbye. But take care. Make sure that you take my number from the description of this specific video. Give me a call. If you would like to get any of my booklets about investments, I have them. Any copies goes for $280. And if you'd like to have a conversation with me, use the same number and give me a call. For now, it's a goodbye. Don't forget to subscribe. See you the next one.